This is going to be a big week for the budget and for a couple of different forms of the budget. Actually, as we were preparing to go live, the Senate passed the bipartisan infrastructure bill. That is, of course, if you've been following this, the smaller, much more pared down, specific, hard infrastructure bill. And we're in the process, basically, of launching into the conversation around what is supposed to accompany it. What we were told would accompany it, which is the reconciliation version, which is not expected to be bipartisan because the Republicans don't give a damn. So there's going to be a budget blueprint, $3.5 trillion. We'll give you some of the details today, but understand that, of course, we've been breaking down the details over the past month or two, so it is all available. But the budget resolution, which Senate Democrats hope to pass by the end of this week, would allow the caucus to piece together social policy legislation this fall, paid for by raising taxes on the wealthy, large inheritances, and corporations. Although don't get too excited about that. We'll give you the details. It might not be as good as they might want you to believe. So Democrats are going to be taking this measure up as soon as that bipartisan infrastructure bill is passed. That is now done. So that will be happening. Together, the measures could secure virtually all of President Biden's $4 trillion economic agenda, rebuilding the nation's roads, bridges, rail lines, water systems, and electricity grid, while expanding public education, social welfare, and healthcare, and remaking the federal tax code, while also having at least some, if not what was promised, on climate and dealing with the climate crisis. They're going to be aiming to reduce carbon dioxide emissions and prevent wildfires, fund research on the effects of climate change on agriculture, create a civilian climate corps to carry out climate-related public works and make the nation's coastlines more resilient to the damage caused by rising seas and stronger storms, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. But that said, these are two different processes. And Yasmin, as I alluded to earlier, we have been told in varying forms from different people that one might pass or the other might pass, or that both need to pass or nothing passes. So there's a lot out there. As we launch into this week, what are your expectations?
Oh, my expectations. I think this is one of those times where I don't know. I kind of don't have any expectations. It seems a little too good to be true as far as what is in the bill. And then there was a whole deal with the cryptocurrency, and I don't know what came from that because all this is happening right now, and I haven't seen any updates yet. The infrastructure bill, though, is so long overdue. And it's very easy to say we need better infrastructure in this country, but the act of actually getting that done is much more difficult. Sometimes it involves displacing communities and reworking communities altogether, redesigning cities, things like that. I live in Houston, Texas, and this city is built on freeways. We have no rail. Well, we have a rail system, but it's very small, very limited. We have a bus system that nobody likes to use. So as far as going green and then having better cities and having quieter cities and having better infrastructure, there's so many factors that go into all of that. Another thing that was mentioned in the bill was the coastlines and protecting them from stronger storms. And I live in Houston, so again, this is another big issue for me. And in Houston and Galveston, which is the actual coast city, about like an hour south of Houston, it's about 30 minutes south from me. We have the Galveston seawall there. There was a huge hurricane back in the year 1900, so they built a seawall to help protect the city from the storm surge and things like that, and it's helped a lot. It hasn't really been updated though. A few years ago, about over 10 years ago now, we had another huge storm and it wrecked it, and nothing's really been done to fix it. And all of that is infrastructure. And the reason why it's an issue is because the Houston Ship Channel and all of the Houston oil and gas industry is there. It's all very vulnerable. So if a big storm comes, that's a national issue, maybe even has international implications. This bill is very important. It feels very big. It feels like a lot to get through. I don't foresee it going through without any big opposition, but I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. We'll see.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm gonna attempt to work through what I think is going to happen, understanding that there is a lot going on, obviously, and we don't. Okay, so supposedly what is supposed to happen is that you have the bipartisan bill, you have the reconciliation bill. If both need to be approved or neither will be approved. Now, why would that happen? Well, if Manchin and Sinema tank the reconciliation bill, then theoretically we won't have already had a House vote on the bipartisan bill. So the progressives together can tank that. In that case, nothing would happen. In theory, it could also happen in the opposite way, although that doesn't seem likely to happen. So the end possible outcomes are you only get the bipartisan bill, you only get the reconciliation bill, you get both, you get nothing. I don't see any road by which you only get the reconciliation bill. I feel like Manchin and Sinema would definitely kill it if they weren't getting the bipartisan one, which seems to be the only thing that they want. That said, I don't think that they necessarily care all that much if we get anything. And so I do not rule out the possibility that nothing happens, because I do not believe that many of these centrist senators really give a damn if they go into the winter, if they go into the midterms having accomplished nothing. Now, the issue is that on the other side, the progressives, with their figurehead in this case being AOC, say we too are willing to have nothing. We will kill this whole thing if we don't get the reconciliation bill. The thing is, I don't think that they don't care if nothing gets done. I don't think that this is equal. I don't think that there's perfectly symmetrical warfare here. I believe that those progressives would really prefer to get a lot, but I think that they would hate to get nothing. And so I think that there is a chance that we get nothing. I think it's more likely that they will be willing to allow the reconciliation process to go through, but be stripped down to some extent. And I don't know exactly how much. I don't know if you lose 10%. I don't know if you lose 60%. But I think that if they did strip half or more out of that, which might well be what Sinema and Manchin require, I've seen the promises from the progressives, but I don't know that they would be willing to kill all of that, knowing the damage that would be done. Even bearing in mind the fact that in the bipartisan bill, quite a bit of what is there is pretty bad. Privatization of what is now public land and public goods and public services, those sorts of things. Are they wrong? If that were to happen, would they be wrong to allow a stripped down reconciliation bill? I think that is more complicated than most will be willing to acknowledge. Ambiguity and nuance is not popular because it's not rewarded, but there would, in theory, in a stripped down bill, be quite a bit that is good. Now, I would love for them to be willing to tank the whole thing to see if maybe Sinema and Manchin would blink. But again, I don't know that they would, because I don't think that they fundamentally care about any of this. So now, with all of that, I don't know, Yasmin, what do you think? Do you think that the progressives are likely to follow through if the reconciliation bill gets stripped down a whole bunch? Would they tank the whole thing?
I would like to think that, yeah, similar to what you said, that they wouldn't let it be an all or nothing thing, right? I think ultimately at the end of the day, I believe that AOC cares about her constituents and the American people. Ultimately, in her heart, whatever. I know that's a weird thing to say about a politician in general, but I do think that she actually does care about people. This does get into more about just playing politics, playing the game. I don't know if that's what the progressives and the Democrats are attempting to do. I don't know if they'll be good at it. The Republicans historically, especially in recent years, are better at playing the game of politics because they've had to be. Because their stances are not popular, because the things that they want don't benefit the American people. So they kind of have to frame things in a way that they trick people, and they have to work with the systems to find loopholes here and there because they don't have the public support for it. It's also frustrating that 2 senators have so much sway over all of this. 2 Democratic senators who are just being annoying because they're getting paid to be that, It's so much bigger than 2 senators, 2 people in government. It shouldn't be this way. I don't know what the solution is besides like reworking all of our government structures, but this is the system that we have, and this is the one that we have to work with. The Republicans have always understood that. The Democrats, I think, are starting to get that now. But whenever you have such a big bill like this too, it's going to be complicated. It's going to be really hard to get it passed, and if so, are the compromises going to be worth it? Or what concessions are people willing to make And are those things that maybe can be addressed further down the line in smaller bills? We'll have to see.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, a lot of this is counting on the fact that the hope that Nancy Pelosi will actually manage the timeline in a way that allows, both to be passed simultaneously. She might not. She might go with how the senators would prefer that it get done. Now, if she were to do that, that would then, one expects, be the trigger that would cause the progressives to turn against it. If it's now divorced and they have to rely on hopes or assurances, then they would, based on what they've said before, have to tank the bipartisan one. So we'll see. And look, the stakes could not be higher, both for what will be included in here, but also the fact that it is likely that if anything is going to be done on climate, this is the only place that it's going to be done. If you're an international viewer, you may not understand why you only get 1 year out of 4 to get something done in a presidency. And you're right, it's stupid. But Biden doesn't seem like he's gonna, is he gonna fight more in his second or third year than he did in his first? I kind of doubt it. So that's the thing. Look, if you believe that tactically or whatever, holding strong on that thing is important, that's totally fine. I get that. And the stakes are super high. But understand, nothing being done is not like, this is not just, hey, it's a story we talked about. It is also probably the only opportunity. It doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be, but it probably will be. So let's just bear that in mind. Like, these costs are not philosophical. This is not just a fun thing. We're not rooting for sports. We're not discussing the most recent episode of Ted Lasso. This is real, obviously. So follow the tactic if you want, but let's bear in mind what the costs are, and the costs are as significant as they can be in politics. So anyway, any final thoughts, Yasmin?
No. Can I just say no?
Okay.
It's my final thoughts are basically just, we just got that recent climate report that we're already worse than we should have been at this point, and coming back from that is going to be the stakes are so high. It's what you said. The stakes are incredibly high, and it's very scary to think what will happen if something like this doesn't get passed, and if real changes don't start to happen, even if that means that the real people, the American people especially, have to be inconvenienced in some ways.
Yeah.
In the long, we have to think about the long term.
Yeah, and man, there's so much about the system that's so frustrating. Like, knowing that, so if nothing gets done, presumably one would expect that the Democrats are going to be destroyed in the midterms, and probably rightfully so. If they got, if they held office, they didn't accomplish anything. And so like, oh, well then Democrats would learn their lesson. Nope, no, they will not. That's the thing. The consequences that seem rational very rarely actually manifest in politics, which is one of the most frustrating parts about it.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.